Now we will begin the cohesive skills. The art of execution has four pillars. The what to do, leader's edge skills gives you the holistic overview of the landscape of the company. And the process ninja skills is how to do it. The cohesive skills are used to actually doing it for execution. When you begin to understand your own nature, you begin to understand the nature of other people. When you begin to understand the nature of other people, you begin to understand the nature of all things. And when you begin to understand the nature of all things, you can participate with heaven and earth in the transformation of all of life. So cohesive skills is to harmonize with the organization, the society, the industry, the project, the team, the people, the group, the interpersonal relationships, the product, to take all of these different dimensions into consideration and then to harmonize with them to create the best result possible for the team and all the stakeholders. The universal mission statement is to create the win-win for all the stakeholders. So that's what the holistic and extreme soft skills. Extreme soft skills means there's no collision. In theory, there's ever no collision. However, if somebody is colliding with you, you may not be able to get out of the way. So there will be collisions, but you will do your best by having the cohesive skills to minimize and to avoid and to soften all the interactions. Because everything coming from you or from me, the person who is the OLP, organization leverage person, begins with AI. If you visualize an arrowhead, the head of an arrow that you shoot, it has like an A, the letter A, and then the horizontal bar in the letter A actually is an I, appreciative inquiry. So it looks like an arrow that you shoot out. So we start all interactions, even if we are on the defensive, even when somebody is coming after us, by having an acceptance, an acknowledgement, an appreciation of where the other person is coming from. So under the harshest conditions, even when you are being persecuted, even if you like like a whale being chased by a group of orcas, the killer whales, even under those conditions in corporate America or in any company, we will still apply the appreciative inquiry and cohesive skills. That way, we do not invoke reactions because the universal law of action and reaction, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Therefore, it is to avoid creating any more aggression and aggravation by not adding to it. Okay, and then we really align with processes, the correct, most efficient processes, which are error-free and add significant value, and the principles of teamwork, the principles of trust, of effectiveness, of boundaries, emotional resilience, some of which we have covered previously, some of which we will cover in the duality skills. And as a clarification, these videos, the art of execution videos, because I'm still working on the content, these are not finished, polished gems which are easily digestible. And I know I'm putting out chunks of hour and a half long videos. So it is really not meant for the casual passerbys who may want to just watch something and have it professionally done and really enjoy it. Rather, these videos are invitations to engage. These videos are invitation to a course of rigorous study during which a person is guaranteed to acquire within a very short amount of time the holistic appreciation of the work ecosystem at all major levels, personal, interpersonal, managerial, organizational, and from different perspectives such as the principles of effectiveness, work processes, project, product, personal, interpersonal, managerial. So all of these dimensions are included in terms of the art of execution principles. In order to apply cohesive skills, pretty much a person needs to become a new creation. That means when you are being attacked, you do not counter-attack. Rather, you accept and you redirect the energy, you blend with it. And when somebody is making you wrong, your instinctive reprogrammed response is to say, try to understand their perspective and show appreciation for where they are coming from. And that is opposite, contradictory to how human beings are made, to how we in how we have acquired our competitive, aggressive behavior from our upbringing, from the movies we watch, from all the programmings that we have seen. And because of the mirror neurons in the human brain, and when you see somebody else eating, the eating cells in your brain, the, the neurons for eating in your own brain are also being activated. Therefore, by watching violent behavior or for example, being born in a culture, you pick up the nuances and the idiosyncrasies and the tendencies of a culture. So Chinese people, Japanese people, Italian people, they have their own unique cultural aspects, right? So cohesive skills requires us to break away from a lot of these human nature type instinctive behaviors, as well as cultural and sports and competitive programming, the win lose paradigm. Success is to beat somebody else. And having that predisposition, you cannot apply cohesive skills effectively. Why do we need cohesive skills? How much of the energy in a company or in a group of people or in a family is actually directed towards a syntropic, productive, beautiful future? A lot of the energy are dissipated in conflicts, in disagreements. What, I mean, 60% of the marriages end up in divorce, and the energies in a company are just lost, misaligned, and conflicted and colliding. That's why the ex-CEO of Citicorp, Walter Wriston, said the person who figures out how to tap into the collective genius of everybody in the organization is to blow away the competition. So cohesive skills stops the leakage of the individual and team and the company's power. That's why we need to have cohesive skills. And cohesive skills, given that it requires a new predisposition, a lot of the anger and the hype and the courage and the aggressive behavior, those things kind of calm down. So we execute based on the needs of the situation. They call that contextual excellence rather than compliance excellence, which means I'm not trying to insist on doing certain things just one way. We understand under the circumstances, the other person may be junior, the other person may be going through some hardship, maybe new to a project, and we need to calibrate and readjust our expectations as to what excellence is based on the context. So focus and balance actions with clarity. The cohesive skills align with the guiding principles of the Art of War and the Book of Five Rings from Sun Tzu and Musashi, respectively. And things are done for specific reasons. They are strategic reasons and tactical results that we are looking for. And we know when to advance, we know when to keep quiet, we know when not to respond, and when to go for higher grounds and tether ourselves to higher levels of authority, official power in the company. So these movements, these actions are calculated, they are deliberate, and they have specific targets that you have observed the situation calmly and not reacted and not panicked, and just then you make your move with lots of clarity and focus, and that will hopefully get you better results than lots of emotional hype. And cohesive skills understands human nature, the nature of the organization, the behemoth of the machinery that self-perpetuates, self-serves, drives out other people, whether they are talented or not. By having the holistic leader's edge skills, you see those chasms, you see the gaps, you see the resistance, you see the Grand Canyons, and you see the dangers. And cohesive skills allows you to process and deal with those things fluidly without colliding. Right? So this is kind of high level. As we go through the next number of slides, we have 55 slides, 65 slides, so we have another 33 slides. So needless to say, I'll be kind of rushing through it because I don't want to make this video too long. So again, this is an invitation to engage, to study, and I have another 50 hours of webinars on Vimeo, which goes into much more detail on the different topics. Cohesive skills gives you the confidence, and hopefully you have gone through some real practices under real stressful conditions, that when you do end up in a situation like a bison, you are surrounded by a pack of wolves, or like any kind of prey that's being pursued by a group of predators. How do you stay calm, and how do you still use your wits, and how do you make your moves to survive and to go past the winter and wait for the spring to come, and so you can actually do what you need to do for the organization. Little to no recovery time, right? Most of the trauma and the shock and unhappiness and anger are mental reactions. In corporate America, we really don't suffer physical harms directly. There are some emotional bashing. For example, if you take down a senior director of a group of people, of 50 people, and all of a sudden you take away everybody that reports to her or to him, that actually will have physical impact on the person who is being dethroned. But the job of the organization leverage person is to train and cultivate a disposition and a temperament that allows you to not so much be attached to external things, external structures. And having understood the principle of renunciation, if somebody wants to give Paris to you, you take it. If somebody wants Paris back, you give Paris back to the person. And having this kind of training, non-attachment, so to speak, it allows you to move through upheavals and changes without being stunted, and then it may take you days, weeks, months, years, or never recover. Some people never recover. I have seen executives being ousted and they just pretty much never recovered from those kind of experiences, even though some of them were fairly young. And then cohesive skills coupled with duality skills. How do you deal with duality? How do you deal with time? It is a human concept that we have past, present, and future. We have steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of these sequential things, and then by the time you get to step number 3, I'm not happy because I'm ranked C rather than A or B, and that makes me less effective in the moment. Having the cohesive and duality skills, it allows you to not being held hostage by the past, to fully bring your full power to the present moment so you can execute for the best possible outcome, mainly for the organization, for the people. Because according to Dr. Deming, it is the obligation of management to provide quality for the customers and provide work to the workers. And obviously, in the process, you will get money, you will get promotion, but that should not be the primary goal. Because if money and promotion and power are the primary goal, then we end up with an organization of statecraft, that we have the machinery, and the goal is to control, to validate, to browbeat, to drive out competition, and to keep the work environment in such a way that my power, my prestige, my authority, my income, my bonus will continue to come and continue to increase. And that's when you have a distorted organization. And the truth is, if an organization can allow such kind of machinery to exist and for a prolonged period of time, that pretty much means that that organization may be a government organization, maybe a nonprofit organization, basically it doesn't have to be accountable for its results. It is somehow in that situation. It may be a subsidiary within a major corporation such as GE or Citigroup. It is possible. I'm aware of such situations. And the point is, in this kind of environment, be very careful, because those people, they don't have to focus on really managing the people, managing the process, delegate, empower, stand up people, talent development, talent retention, and all of that good stuff. Since they don't have to do that, they end up with very sophisticated and pervasive dragnets of spy listening posts, and they have all kinds of different ways to sabotage somebody that they don't like by giving them bad assignments, by breaking their systems, their computer programs, and the different things that they use to do their work. Help desk tickets, any number of things can just be tweaked, not allow them to record their WebEx meetings, and it goes on and on and on. When the statecraft of espionage is so advanced, they can impact every aspect of a person's work, whom they want to stop or slow down or sabotage or to drive out. So net cohesive skills allows you to solve unsolvable problems. Most people would be driven out, intimidated, running for the door. But then that is application, right? That is, it may be injustice and inhumane for the customers we are trying to save, and also for the other people who are stuck at work. So the invitation is for you to develop this kind of skills, so you can stand and deliver results. And you may have to hibernate, you may have to go mute and not say anything to anybody, just really focus on learning the production processes and see what is broken and take notes mentally, but don't say anything to anybody, because anything you say, assume that it will be repeated. Any email that you write, assuming that it will be forwarded. Any conversation that you have, assume that it can be recorded. So the promise of cohesive skills is what I said previously, right? So you can basically advance consciousness and reduce suffering, which is my personal mission statement, is to advance consciousness and reduce suffering. In my particular case, with 35 years in corporate America is my arena. So the underpinning, the philosophical underpinning of cohesive skills, what is this thing? Saint Francis, who referred to all of creation as siblings, brother, sun, sister, moon, said, Sister Water, she is very useful, humble, precious, and pure. So the invitation is for you, as an organization leverage person who is well versed in the art of execution framework, to be useful, humble, precious, pure, like water. And Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching, the way the Tao says, water comes down from the heavens, and it nourishes all creatures before it flows to dark crevices and low-lying places without clamoring for credit. Therefore, water is the highest symbol in the Tao. Be nurturing and selfless like water. And Sanzi in The Art of War says, water tosses boulders because of momentum. How does water gain momentum? Any tributaries can join a body of water pursuing gravity with a single-minded focus, agnostic of fear and discrimination of the landscape or whatever the water is flowing over. So be open and focused like the water. They will allow you to gain momentum, and then you can use that momentum to execute your tasks and applying the cohesive skills. How does the water molecule travel a few hundred feet against gravity from the roots of the tree all the way to the leaves of the tree, right? Because of the cohesiveness of the hydrogen bonds between the water molecules. And that's why when we are like water, we are good team players and we are cooperative. So these are the cohesive skills, philosophical underpinning. That's the foundation from which we execute cohesive skills. So here's a quick case study. Once I was in a company on a on a mission critical project, and that project has been going on for maybe a year and a half. By the time I got on the scene, pretty much it has failed. And after me being on the scene for about 3 4 months, three other project managers started to attack me, and they started to say, okay, I wasn't doing the job right. I was not able to have a clear end-to-end project schedule. I couldn't come up with all the major milestones, and the circumstances were that that company did not believe in processes. They didn't believe in proper assignments of people to different tasks. So it was almost impossible to get dates and estimations from the programmers and the requirements analysts and the testers. Therefore, we pretty much, under my leadership, was just to execute as quickly as we could. And so those two project managers at one of my weekly project meetings came in and stood up and pretty much took over my weekly project meeting and started to highlight all the mistakes I have made. And then after 10 15 minutes of that, their manager came in to the room and continued to enumerate all the mistakes I have made. Then I got up to the whiteboard and I pretty much said, I'm very proud of the accomplishments the team has had over the last number of months, and what other people could not accomplish over the last year and a half, we were able to accomplish it. And I also took the opportunity to grandstand since I was already on a soapbox, and I said, I've been putting in 75 hours a week since I've been here, and I'm very proud of what I have accomplished and what the team has been able to accomplish. And that is an example of applying the cohesive skills. So first lesson there is water is agnostic of fear. Even when it's going over the cliff, whatever the water is going through, it goes forward according to the gravity of the situation. That is not to say you want to be foolish and hurt yourself and get yourself fired, but the point is do not flinch. Why? Because Musashi said, if you flinch, you have already lost. If somebody is coming after you, say for example, metaphorically speaking, with a stick, and you keep on dodging, then the question is, after 10 15 tries, they will get you, right? Because you can only flinch and miss, have them miss you for so many times, and you never have a chance to reverse the situation by flinching, because flinching is the equivalent of retreating. And George Patton said there's no such thing, nothing was ever defended successfully. George Patton, the general from World War II, said nothing was ever defended successfully. So if you're not supposed to flinch and you're not supposed to defend, what are you supposed to do? Well, you're supposed to control your own spirit and control the spirit of the attacker. Because if you do not control your own spirit and you do not train yourself beforehand rigorously, that means your instinctive reaction will take over. The fight and flight, the anger, the revenge, the vengeance, all of that will just come out. However, through training to stay calm, centered, and relaxed, that says you are controlling your own spirit, and at the same time, because you are not fighting back, you are not having an action creating another reaction from the attacker, you are in essence controlling the spirit of the attacker. Therefore, it is important for you to build strength in your own self, in physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, especially about the task at hand, the project, and then be able to have momentum and show quick wins, show quick results. Otherwise, you have no credibility in the situation. And if you look at ice in the wintertime, it freezes on the top of the lakes. And that means the fish, the turtle, and the snakes or whatever can live on the bottom of the lake. If water had frozen from the bottom up, then no creatures can live there. And that just kind of project a human concept of being wise on the water there, right? So we should cultivate wisdom. Wisdom in the context of the art of execution is knowing right from wrong in terms of what is the next thing to do. Knowing the best thing to do next is wisdom in the case that we are doing here. And That wisdom comes from being relaxed and being open and really understanding the principles of all the activities of the project, of the people, of the politics, of the company, of the industry. Is the CEO new? Is the CIO about to be fired? All the circumstances come into play, right? And therefore, understanding all of these key principles, which the art of execution talks about, you will have the wisdom of hopefully knowing what's the best thing to do next in any situation. Water is always balanced. Water is relaxed and open. So when you're throwing a rock, water swallows it. However, when you throw a rock against ice, then the ice is smashed. So it's very important to be relaxed and to be open so you do not fracture when you encounter resistance. Even when water is flowing downhill, it is balanced. It is running as fast as it needs to be to keep its balance. So once water reaches flat ground, then it doesn't have to move, right? Because the balance is already there according to the law of gravity. And water is focused on only one thing. It single-mindedly goes towards its goal. Okay, it's focused, and the goal is to comply with the gravity. Water actually maintains the experience it has gone through. In YouTube, there's a video called the Messages from the Water by Dr. What was his name? Dr. Amaru? Maru, I think. Message from the Water. You can Google or look for it in YouTube. So anyways, water molecules will reflect music and thoughts. But anyways, be amnesiac, no past, no entropy, new beginnings. As the water is flowing, it does not look back, hesitate about what happened yesterday, what happened 2 minutes ago, and because all of the past, anything that's created, anything that has already passed in space and time, it's going under decay, right? The moment a child is born, it begins to age, and the moment a tree is planted, it begins to age towards entropy, right? So anything that's created begins to decay. So don't spend any time on those kind of things. Look forward, learn from the past, and just keep on going, right? So every moment is a new beginning, and that's how water behaves, and it's a good guideline for us as well. Be renewed, cohesive skills. Water can evaporate. No matter how dirty, how defiled, water can evaporate. And then it can become pure and pristine again. So if we apply that trait to human beings, basically, we should not let past differences, past unforgiveness, anger, whatever misunderstandings, get in the way of our future. And this moment, I should not tie up any of my energy and not be able to flow and do my best because of who said what, when, how, why. That really should not infringe upon my ability to perform and my freedom to be my best at the present moment in dealing with everybody, including those who have wronged me. Because I can often see how people have harmed me, but I fail to see what I have done to harm them and cause them to react to me a certain way. Water, when it is behind the dam, it has a lot of power when it flows down. We use that to generate electricity. So similarly, there are times we need to tether to power because in physical reality, somebody can overpower you because they are stronger, they can fire you, they can give you bad assignments, they can assign the wrong people to you on your team, they can destroy your computer system, they can do any number of things. So there will be times that, according to the art of war, you should never attack uphill. And same idea. So to the extent possible, when you feel they are being persecuted or there's imminent danger, go for high ground. And in a company equivalent, the high ground is basically the CEO, the C-suite, the power. And the last thing about cohesive skill principles is you want to enter completely into, blend totally with, and control firmly an attack, like when a rock is thrown into the water completely embraces the rock. So when you are besieged, when somebody comes after you, do not flinch, control your own spirit, be wise about the situation, be relaxed and open, and listen very carefully because we are giving you signs of where you want to go, where you may need to go, and don't be encumbered by the past and be balanced and focused on what you need to do. Enter completely into, blend totally with, do not collide, and then control firmly an attack. So this is the theory. So in the case study I gave on the previous slide, the attack was firmly controlled and the energy of the attack was used to build the team and to show appreciation, also to earn the respect of the team members so they know we should not be intimidated very easily. Okay, we want to de-escalate, do not unknowingly unbalance others, don't just live in your own head, in your own skull. Other people have needs, other people have fears, have limitations, have boundaries, other people have concerns, have projections. Many people may perceive you to be a threat. Many people are maybe unhappy at home, at work, with themselves, and they will take it out on you. So understand some of these things and try. I was talking with this person, and the person sent a text message back to me and goes, "So are you expecting me to do the research?" So I saw there was some unhappiness. So I said, "No, I'm not. I'm sharing information, and this is actually what I have found out in my research." No pushing, no pulling. That's really when you go up to somebody, when you push against them, they automatically push back, right? If you push against the wall, it pushes back. So do not create unwanted reactions. And if you really you want to push, know exactly the kind of reaction you will get and what you are pushing. But the principle here is to make a preemptive, decisive move, and pushing and shoving somebody, all you're gonna do is push them back, and they will bounce right back. It doesn't really accomplish anything. So this principle is saying, make all your moves calculated and decisive, or don't make any moves because it's a waste of energy. No going back and forth or going in circles. Yes, you said this. No, I didn't say this. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. It goes on and on. It's just a waste of time. When you see something that you don't like, and obviously the conceptual mind is making judgments, and you think this is really unfair, they are really beating up on the people, whatever the situation may be, see it and try not to be too judgmental because those judgments are going to create emotion and it's going to impact your ability to function and to navigate and to lead. So no ego, no judgments. Ego is basically saying this person has become who he is after having lived for 40 years on earth, and I believe he should have been or she should have been somebody else. That he should have acquired a different habit, he should have had a different preference, he should have had a different approach, and that kind of ego is naive and is part of the six human traits where we have the creator's complex, where we are playing God. We think we know everything, and people really shouldn't be who they are, despite their upbringing and habits and experiences and circumstances in life. They should be who I think they are. That's what the ego does. When we apply cohesive skills with the appreciative inquiry, the first thing is always connect to the other person's position. And if you don't connect to the other person's position, then it's denial, it's punishment, it's rejection. By always connecting to it, you understand, you accept, and you let the other person know that they are important, they are accepted, and you think they are competent and they are worthy of you really seeing their points of view. And that goes a long way in creating cooperation, collaboration, friendship, and cross-functional results. That means if you are in purchasing and you're dealing with somebody in shipping, that's cross-functional. And be aware of how people are viewing you by studying them, by being connected. So notice the reaction you invoke in other people. And sometimes we'll be running 100 miles per hour, but if the situation is not right, we should be able to stop instantly and just don't even finish the sentence, don't even complete the thought. Just move away from it, like how the water does. If the water needs to switch to the left or switching to the right, it does it instantly. And here is to say, you may have a lot of pent-up energy, a lot of go behind it, but if you find out that's not the right thing to do, vaporize all those goals and head towards a new direction immediately and become vapor in where you no longer should be. Different levels, right? Cohesive skills. Many people, including myself, sometimes, but it's not a good idea, spend a lot of energy bashing the self, saying bad things about oneself, and having the negative self-talk that is that's using one's ego to collide with one's past, which first of all is entropy. Second of all, it's not any good. So even though we have such conditioning, we need to consistently, repetitively, precisely reprogram those habits so we no longer have such automatic reactions. Interpersonal, cohesive skills in a team in a department of two different groups. One is release management, the other one is a bunch of project managers, and they are not talking to each other face to face, even though they only sit 30 steps away. And the manager, the director said, "Oh, this is funny. How come you guys don't get up and talk to each other person to person?" And the reason is because of the human conditioning. Some people, they are triggered. They are already in the fight and flight mode. Their face begin to get pale. They begin to shake. They begin to get excited. So if you get in somebody's face at times like that, nothing good comes of it. Some people, because of our conditioning, if I'm brought up in a family, when I say something wrong, if I did something wrong, I get backhanded by my father, and that's my conditioning. Now I go to work, I'm collaborating with my white collar coworkers, and something comes up, and my reaction of being backhanded by my dad basically says I'm gonna backhand somebody. Because however you hate something that's being done to you, nevertheless that is the condition that you have received, that in such situations of discord you would backhand somebody else. So in those kind of environments, when you see people are shaking, they are not able to control their instinctive reaction. Of course, they are not interested to learn the art of execution and cohesive skills. So the best thing to do is to avoid them. I've had managers and directors say, "Okay, come to my desk and why did you say this?" I said, "Sure. I didn't lie, but I also didn't show up that day or the next day because I can tell nothing good is going to come out of it. Maybe I'm wrong. Sometimes I do go based on my quote unquote wisdom of knowing what the next best thing to do is, but that requires that I'm not triggered. I'm not in a fight and flight state myself. Otherwise, I won't be able to have the energy or the gap between action and reaction. If I don't have the space, that gap, and I react instinctively, incorrectly, and then it's no longer cohesive skills. Those are just aggressive skills. Those are things that escalate and completely take the energy and the focus on the task at hand. So as a manager, if you tell one team member something bad about another team member, you are basically destroying their need or desire to collaborate. Therefore, it is very important to have cohesive skills at the managerial level. This is just an example. This is just to say different dimensions, different circumstances, there are different principles, and cohesive skills need to be applied according to the circumstances, and there are always nuances in different teams, different industries. A team can be brand new, going through forming, storming, or a team can be being disbanded at the adjourning stage, forming, storming, performing, norming, forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning at the adjourning stage. So it all depends, right? And if one team is going to be disbanded, and within 3 weeks another team will be formed by using the members of the team which is being disbanded, and certain kind of training and continuity may be necessary. But if you will never have to work with these people again in the same company, then you may handle it differently. Then the organization, right? We talk about the machine. We talked about the true north, the mission, vision, value statement, the stakeholder needs, the results, the culture, the work systems in holistic skills. So when you look at cohesive skills, you need to be able to understand the nature of the beasts at different levels and harmonize with that. But if you don't know how, like Sanzi in the Art of War says about the spies should be the highest paid division of soldiers, if you don't understand the espionage that's going on, you may be doing the wrong things all day long. It's crucial to scrutinize and study and understand the true nature of all things and the different nuances which pervade and brand different levels, industry, and teams. Branding, right? People who are dentists may be different from people who are chiropractors and people who are boxers. The cohesive skills principles, which we'll be talking about in the next number of slides, are applicable to all levels. Another dimension. Some people, I have seen this on TV once. Somebody caught a fish. I don't remember, maybe it was a shark or a barracuda, some kind of a fish. And after being, reeled out on a line or maybe in a net, it pretty much dies like within 3 seconds. I was just so surprised. I said, wow, some fish can, like catfish, they can live out of water for hours. And some fish just die within 5 seconds. Therefore, it is important for the organization leverage person to understand different levels of intensity and be able to survive and sustain and have longevity under those circumstances. Because again, you are there to make a difference, to be a pillar for the workforce, for the company, for the customers, to do good. My personal take is once I have accomplished that, it's time for me to go because life is very, brief for me. And I don't want to spend too much time anymore to just sit in a place where I cannot really bring my best skills to bear. Anyways, so during peacetime, somebody's having a bad day. They got up on the wrong side of the bed and they blew up, and okay, so that happens, right? Best to just keep quiet, bring a cup of tea, bring an apple. And then there are some cases where there's hostility, minor hostility, skirmishes at work. They give you cold shoulder. They don't look at you. They snub you. You're having a conversation with somebody else. They come in. They cut you off. Okay, fine. They give you verbal barbs. You say something. Well, what do you mean by that? All right. Then you can see that. Handle it accordingly. And there will be a slide coming up giving an example. And then you end up in situations where different groups, even different teams within the development group or within the programmers group, they can withhold information from each other on a regular basis. They can refuse to help the QA person, refuse to help PM. And since they don't have to be accountable for their work, they spend a lot of time gossiping, backbiting, rallying people, so they will all be aligned with him or them and to come against you. They are blaming and so on. So this is guerrilla warfare. So in a situation like this, how do you deal with it? What I have found is continue to be your best. Continue to offer your help like water agnostic of the past of the other person's behavior. Whether the water is flowing over marble or horse manure, it's immaterial. The material thing is the water is doing what the water does. guerrilla warfare. Then you have conventional warfare. I have been in projects and companies where it's like the engine on a ship is the most important thing. And then if you actually go to the engine room, you see two white mice running on a treadmill. That's the power for the ship. Why? Because all the knowledge, all the talent, all the staff, there's no retention, there's no staff development, there's no cross training, there's actually browbeating and driving out and traumatizing the workforce. And that's really bad. I've seen that. And in some cases, they use official power, they put you on probation, no bonus, no raise, and try to drive you out. They can even bring in spies to further intimidate you to say things like, oh, you're still eating, you have still mood to eat. Or they can bring in some other specialist training consultant and who tell you that you should leave the company. And this is unofficial and this is all for your own good. And then you have the nuclear warfare, right? You can see an org chart and you can see an entire group is completely gone. And that group, for example, may be the engine of the ship. And how can that be? What's going on? So be able to survive in any one of these circumstances, because a lot of very good people, they are not autistic, but they are geniuses in what they do, right? They may be geniuses in entering some complicated information in the healthcare industry, or they may be experts in handling doctors' claims, whatever the situation may be. They cannot survive in that environment. Going back to what Epictetus, Epictetus, the Greek philosopher, I think he was Greek, he was a slave, he said, you can either focus on external things or on internal things. And when you focus on external things, you are a common person, that's what he says. And when you are focused on internal things, then you are a philosopher. And if you want to survive, you need to be a philosopher. Right? The people who survived the concentration camp, people who survived in the wilderness, lost at sea, in the mountains, in the book, as described in the book Deep Survival by Lawrence Gonzalez. It's a must read. The people who really survive, they are proactive, they are principle centered, they know how to allocate their energy, they have all the proper traits of water: wisdom, focus, balance, discipline, all of those things. And we need to train ourselves. When you do sports, judo, black belt in judo, you get slammed, you get thrown. So you don't get shell-shocked and tuck your tail between your legs and run out. And I'm not trying to make fun of people. What I'm trying to say is, to be an organization leverage person is not easy, because you may be one of the very few people who can actually turn the situation around or have the knowledge, and so you must have the tenacity to withstand the winter, the nuclear warfare, so you can live to the spring and help in the healing of the situation. This is very important. Expediting and maximizing results using principles while disclosing necessary details preventively and on demand. Everybody is busy. People don't want to be lectured to. People don't want others to preach to them. So provide information if it's invited, if it's appropriate, at the right moment, at the right time. And the most important thing is to focus on the principles to execute according to your internal environments, and not the gang, not the pack of wolves, not the reorg, not the departure of your manager or the CEO, not that you didn't get the promotion, not that they laid off 6 other people. I know those things invariably affect us, because in duality skills we will talk about the intrinsic emptiness of human identity, right? That I'm a husband because I have a wife. Without a wife, I cannot be a husband. So therefore, my identity is dependent and is transient, right? One day I will die before my wife, or she will die before me. So, and then my identity will change at that point, among other changes. So anyways, by focusing on the principles and the philosophy, it allows you to unhinge from physical reality and become like a butterfly transformation, and you'll be able to fly free in the wide open sky of all the possibilities at work. And then once you have that spaciousness, that relaxedness, that being relaxed, like the water can can absorb anything that you throw into it. Then you can help to create a stressful environment. So human drama. Why do we need to have cohesive skills? And some people go, he's just lucky and he's born in a rich family. My personal observation is that everybody has things that come against them, and no matter what you have accomplished, no matter what homes you have built. I was in Citigroup. There I saw senior executive vice presidents. They come and go, and now that my site has been shut down, that's why I left Citigroup. Nobody is really nobody, right? Anybody just nobody, and all of the big, glorious, big, huge offices and the kingdom and the empires and people they have built and the budget we have had, it's all gone, all finished, all obsolete. Everything is lost. And human beings, intrinsically, we are raised differently. We have different upbringing. We have different preferences. The neuroplasticity of our brain actually create patterns in our brain, which make us different people with different styles and different wants. All of that. And therefore, when I deal with my wife, she has a completely different set of preferences than I do. And guess what? You have built-in conflict, right? So cohesive skills begins with AI, the arrowhead, appreciative inquiry is very, very important. Customized CC culture, customized CC actually don't come cohesive customized. Oh, yeah, each person has a customized habit and so on. There are built-in blind spots, right? Me as a man who lived in Iran for 4 years, whose parents were refugees from China to Taiwan, I see the world a certain way. Some things I just cannot see. My wife always tells me I'm not dressed properly, I'm not using my utensils properly when I eat. Okay, fine. On the one hand, we need the ego to survive. On the other hand, we need to destroy our animalistic, judgmental ego because, for many, many reasons, because Mother Teresa said we cannot love people because we're too busy judging them and we don't see people for who they are. We see our projection and our judgment and how they have failed what we perceive to be the right behavior. And that's really not a good way to collaborate. So we need a self to advance in the world, advance, so to speak. Not advance is a dualistic term, and I don't really mean that. Need self to fully express yourself, to reach your full potential. Whether it's advancing or retreating, that's really up to who is looking at the situation. So we need selflessness for main stage instead of sideshow, right? Let's don't spend energy into gossiping and fighting and warfare. That's the sideshow. Let's stay with them on the main stage. And these are the number of phobias that we all face. And the highest recommendation is to spend time to actually try to de-trigger these triggers of fear. People are afraid of getting sick. Oh, I'm gonna do this, and my eyes getting blurred. I'm gonna go blind. My blood pressure is high. There's a lot of fear and agitation to just try to stay calm. The body is very smart, and follow. I'm not gonna prescribe any ways on how to deal with sickness, aging, and death, but it's about the strong attachment to the body that interferes with one's balance of mind and clarity. I had a coworker who stayed awake the whole night in bed waiting for the earthquake to come when she lived in Los Angeles, so she had reason to fear back then. Don't go here, don't go there. Why are you not afraid? So there's a lot of angst and fear, right? So to the extent possible, work with them and try to overcome. And I know this is so second nature. Somebody almost drowned in a puddle of water from a young age definitely is going to be afraid of water. And I know those are psychological phobias and creates a tremendous amount of anxiety, whatever the situation may be, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. But to the extent you can confront and work with it, you will have more power and you will be a better organization leverage person. The fear about losing your job, you can always find a job. If you observe the earth, the the biosphere of the earth is biophiliac. It loves life. Life is pervasive, is abundant, is diverse. So no matter who you are, what you want to do, you will be abundantly supported wherever you are by all kinds of diverse means. That's what appears to be being offered by the earth in this life. So romance, all the stuff that we go through, right? So I continually try to give myself positive affirmation, positive self-talk in an attempt to reprogram myself. Of course, when time comes, anybody who gets kicked in the chest, kicked in the face, it's going to suffer. It's going to take some time to recover. But to the extent that you are trained, you can minimize the recovery time and the shock it brings to the system. The attachment to, oh yeah, isn't that, somebody may be a millionaire and may be gainfully employed, may have $250,000 income a year, and be totally unhappy and always fighting over money. And believe it or not, I see it. I see it firsthand. I see it. And it just is unnecessary, really. It takes some training to not get all worked up. We all have angst about the future, the unknown, the uncertainty. By being like water, by doing your very best in the moment, that's really the best you can do. And that will help you. That will be the best thing, best way to spend your moments and your nows. And life is nothing but moments. And then the other thing about the human mind, 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts go through the mind, the monkey mind, have to control that, have to stop it, because emotions come from it. And if I think that, oh yeah, the dog is actually eating my lunch, if I think enough times about it, it becomes true for me. Even if I know it's not true, I will have a reaction when I see that dog, or when I see that coworker, when I see that person, when I see that situation, right? So don't set yourself up and limit your freedom and put on so many filters that you can never see the world. And we all have predisposition, habits, and unconscious scripting. All of these need to be surfaced and worked out. Otherwise, when you are under duress, when you are pushed, when you are quote unquote being brutalized in a difficult situation, you will not be able to survive that. So these are a set of positive affirmations for you to kind of consider. And my recommendation is memorize them, repeat them. I'm trying to do that for myself. Be fearless. I'm in charge of my mind and my emotions. And it takes practice. I'm in charge. I control my thoughts, words, and actions. I control my focus. When somebody is belittling me, or my manager just doesn't like me, or my manager all of a sudden is not talking to me, he may be going through his own crisis. He may be afraid for his job. He may view me as a threat. Whatever the situation may be, I should not. I was on the board of directors for 7 years with the PMI LA, Project Management Institute, and some people will come to me and tell me, "Oh, I've been in this bank for 10 years. I want to leave now because my my manager is like this and he's like that." And I said, "Wow, really?" And the self-affirmation, self-talk, really, really believe it. Any thought that you repeatedly think becomes a belief, and once it's a belief, it will create automatic reactions, and you will suffer less. No matter what happens, I find my way. If you look at Joel Osteen, look at all the stuff that he's talking about. It's all about positive expectation, positive programming, positive conditioning. Even if it's not true, having a negative outlook doesn't help anyways. And then be relaxed. Another self-affirmation. Keep on just saying. One of my neighbors said, "Oh, my mother got cancer, my sister got cancer, my daughter got cancer. I'm 100% sure I'm going to get cancer." And I heard her say that. I go, "Oh my gosh, what is she doing? Her body is listening. She's programming herself. God knows how many times she thinks that." In terms of self-fulfilling prophecy, the body-mind connection, I don't think that can be a good thing. So it goes on and on. So these are basically self-affirmations. Grow daily, be prepared, learn, become an expert, be an organization leverage person. And this is the promise I make to you. If you actually spend the time to study this framework, I promise you, it will put you 20 years ahead, at least. It's difficult. I know the material is not very polished, not easy to read. And I have 400 pages of notes. 400 pages of notes I'm trying to turn into a book. Hasn't exactly been coming along fast because I'm still working on the content and the material. So the goal is to adapt at performing in a team, leading a team in an organization when there is tremendous amount of stress at all levels. So we talked about how the water does that, cohesiveness. Okay, so cohesive skills are personal and internal. It is entirely under your control, yet completely out of reach because we need to rigorously reprogram ourselves through thousands and thousands of times of reprogramming and all of that. So I'm going to rush through the next 4 slides. It's already been 1 hour. Guiding principles for applying them, syntropic, right? Syntropy. A little mango tree grows, it's born to become a mango tree. A little giraffe is born to become a big giraffe. So that's what syntropy is. It's increasing in complexity, in ability, in structure. So organizational leverage persons, you are that Green Beret, that Navy SEAL, that Mother Teresa, that Dr. Deming, that John Wooden, that Tom Peters. Through a lot of training, they don't become who they are just by being around, watching TV. I'm not trying to be judgmental here. I'm trying to say those things are actually a lot of hard work. And it's a long topic. Why should you subject personal interest to the team? We don't have the time right now to go through the details. Call me, I will talk to you about it. It's about job security and what it really means. What is really job security, right? No demanding results. When somebody is having trouble, stop yelling about the result. Go up and take a look. What's going on? Is the tool stuck? Is the person unable to sleep or whatever the situation may be? Listen, and the project management, right? Some people they let's see, they want something to be done in 2 hours when it physically cannot be done in 2 hours. There are certain laws governing how you manage project, how you manage people. You basically break down a big feature into 10 sub features. Then you look at each sub feature to see what it takes. It's common sense for some people who've been doing it for a long, long time. But we have to respect those things. You cannot just say, okay, you'll be done in 2 seconds. It cannot be. Right? Okay. Given that we live in the now, we should try to produce benefits every moment if it's possible, rather than saying, okay, I'm not gonna spend it. A friend of mine said his father told him that he's already past 50, he will refuse to exercise anymore because what difference does it make? He's ready to die. I was in Tehran, Iran, and I was 15 for my friend from Yugoslavia told me that it really bothered him. But anyways, it's just that life is continuous, right? Don't say I'm not begin to do good when I win the lottery. Do it now. Do it whatever you can do. And I'm not trying to be preachy. The cohesive skill says you want people to accept you and to allow you to continue to function there. Therefore, you have to show results. That's reality, right? The fear response. So this is just reprogramming about so you don't get upset with people's behavior, with the job, with the projects finished, with conflicts, with being blamed, with being judged. And it's okay to be assertive with finesse, to speak, unless speaking up will get you fired. So then in that case, don't speak. So these are just affirmations and triggers to remove, right? Cohesive skills, neuroplasticity of the brain. So it's not easy. It takes a lot of repetition. We talked about. So just this slide it's taken me 25 years. I have extracted that from Aikido. We don't have time to go through it now. And if you are seriously considering this to be a course of study, give me a call and we can go through it. I provide personal trainings all for free if you even care to spend any time on this. All right, it's more than 1 hour. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. We'll continue with duality skills soon. Bye.